to have menopause. Oh my God. I was having a really good time. Now you're telling me I have to pause? Like, screw that. I'm like more like I'm a playful. I'm curious. I'm hot. Who put pause? A man named it menopause.
Right. Fuck that.
Yeah, like really fuck that. Get out of my pussy. My pussy is not pausing for nobody. My pussy is like, she turned 60 this year and she's like, I'm here.
We're Elisa and Lily, the mother-daughter creators of StyleLikeU, and after interviewing hundreds of trailblazing individuals for our channel, we've been inspired to join the conversation and ask,
What would the world look like if everyone was told from the moment they were born, don't change a thing? What a different world that would be.
Hi, Pamela.
Hi, Pamela. We're so happy to have you here. Finally.
And how are you today?
I actually feel pretty hot and sexy today.
You
I'm
do?
with you lovely, lovely beings in this beautiful environment. And like, I'm ready to chat with you ladies.
Do you feel hot and sexy and playful regularly? I would assume so.
Yeah, I do.
The dress you're wearing, I'm kind of obsessed with like how beautiful it is. Like where did you get it? It's really beautiful.
This is Johnny Was. I wear a lot of their clothes. I find their clothes sexy and easy to wear. They put a slip with this dress. I didn't have a need for the slip. I was walking with my friend and he was like, Pamela, I can see your ass. And I was like, yeah, you can, can't you? How is that for you? He goes, it's a nice ass, but you really can see your ass. And I was like, is that okay? And he was like, well, we're in West Hollywood. It's fine. I don't think about it. My mom said to me, do you ever wear clothing that doesn't say, look at me? And my husband turned and said, why would she bother? and I think it's kind of true. It's like, I wear clothing.
Right. Why be here?
Right. I don't wear clothing to be invisible. I wear clothing to be seen, to self-express.
To be understood.
To be understood.
How did your mother respond to your husband saying that?
She just giggled. And she was a rockette for like a tiny little bit of her life. So she understood about costumes and clothing, and she was always supportive. But every once in a while, she'd have to do a mama dig, a little mama poke.
Mm-hmm. And how do you deal with the mama pokes?
Well, you get them from lots of places. They're from ladies in the mall who you see look at you when you walk by. And I've come to the point in my life where I don't ignore them.
What do you do?
I walk over. I go, hi. I noticed you admiring me. Do we know each other? No. Oh, let me introduce myself. I'm Pamela Madsen. I'm a sexuality and embodiment coach for women. Would you like my card? I think that social media has really deadened people to social interaction. Would you actually say that to me if you were staring at me? Or do you just feel free to pop on my page and say, nobody wants to see your fat ass? Mm-hmm. Thank you for taking some of your precious time to comment on my page and let me know your feelings about my fat ass. Thank you. And just sort of that modeling of not being reactive or combative with trolls or people who have feelings of judgment or shame and project them all over me. And I'm at a place in my life where how I look on the outside is how I am on the inside. If I'm not the right person for you, carry on.
Has that been a work in progress?
Oh, absolutely. I got married at 19. I was the good girl. I was more concerned about my spatulas.
I cannot remember.
You were like a housewife?
Yeah, my spice rack at 19. That was so exciting. I have cinnamon. I have cinnamon in my spice rack.
Same husband?
Yeah, 40 years.
Wow,
Really?
I'm almost at 40.
Yeah, 40 years.
Wait, the same husband?
Yeah,
He's been with you through your freedom journey?
I've been 5 different women. I think that that's what happens, is that we are evolutionary. Yes. And the women who are not evolutionary become depressive and stuck and medicate with drugs and food and alcohol and everything else. And I mean, the woman who commented on my big fat ass was some angry little lady somewhere who couldn't imagine loving her big fat ass.
Right.
I love mine.
Okay. And I imagine that's been a journey too. Yeah? Or did you always love your big fat ass?
I think it goes in stages. I've been an activist for women for a long time. I was very important in reproductive health and reproductive choice, the fight for infertility coverage. There was a time in my life where I wore a suit.
Was that the second stage to I have cinnamon and spatulas?
That was
Which woman was that? One, two, three, four, or five?
They merged.
Okay.
They were emerging
Could you take
women.
us through it a bit, right?
Well, I got married very young. I had the kind of Disney love that only a 19-year-old could have. Oh, just that deep, oh my God, he's the one. I wore the white dress and all very romantic, and I didn't have sex with anyone before my husband, and it was very.
That's unusual for that time period.
Yeah, it was. I had a much older sister and brother who were Woodstock, so I grew up with like marijuana parties in the house and sex parties in the house when my father and mother were away, and I was exposed to everything very, very young.
Where were you?
Great Neck and Long Island.
Okay.
I think my rebellion was to get married and be a good girl. That lasted a little while. Started to have babies when I was 24, went through infertility, had my children way back in the days of IVF, kind of like the way IVF is now today, not being accepted. People were frightened of in vitro. And I did a lot of work around biological clock as an activist, teaching women about what they needed to know about their biological clock. And that was a really big time for me. And then when I hit 40, all my friends were having affairs. We didn't have polyamory. We didn't have consensual non-monogamy. No. We had cheating on your man. And everybody was. I mean, forget the men. The women were hungry animals. And the men were kind of happy watching TV on the couch, and the women were like, wah, wah, wah. They were hot and they wanted
You
more. I was curious. I mean, they were all sex goddesses. They were excited. They were turned on. They were riding motorcycles. And I was
Who were they cheating with? Other people in the neighborhood, or like younger, or
all over the place. Everything from the carpenter in their house, like all the cliches. They had a sense of aliveness in them. And I was busy being the serious patient advocate, speaking before the FDA and the CDC about passing insurance laws for family building. And that was great and important, but they were having fun. I was creating social change, which is great, but they were having fun. And so my story, which I chronicle in my book, Shameless, how I ditched the diet, got naked, found true pleasure, and somehow got home in time to cook dinner. See, cooking dinner was still very important to me. But I was kind of on a path, and then I wasn't anymore. And I remember having a massage with a gay man. I learned so much about sex through gay men. God bless you, gay men, everywhere. And he's telling me about these sexy massages he does to keep things alive with him and his husband. And I was like, sexy massages? That's such a thing? And he was like, oh, yeah.
how was your relationship with your husband? Like intimacy and all that at that point?
It was good. Between 20 years in, we did all the things, licky, licky, sucky, sucky, fucky, fucky. We checked all the boxes. He came, I came, we all came together. Woo-hoo. It wasn't about that. It was about this. It's like, what's going on in this body? Like, what? There's more here. And did it have to do with him or our marriage bed? No, it was something calling me about me. And so I went on a journey. My son, my poor kid, was like 15, like, Mommy needs a Yahoo address called Winking Goddess. And I'm writing to guys on, 'cause like, it was as dry as a desert out there for women. If you were a guy, straight, gay, bisexual, trans, I don't care. You had a cock, you could get anything you wanted delivered to your room. You were a woman, it was as dry as a desert out there.
It dry as a desert for what? Like, exactly. Can
For
you just
erotic
explain?
touch, for erotic massage. As Samantha talked about in Sex and the City, happy endings. It's like, I could do that. I could explore my body that way.
Meaning you wanted to start getting that.
You wanted
for
to
yourself.
understand yourself and have that for you.
Yeah, that without cheating on my man, because it felt like a hall pass. Because there was no intercourse. There was none of that going to happen.
Yeah, and no like emotional connection.
No.
Or whatever.
So I started to go on gay men's sites. And I would write to these gay men and say, hey, I had a pseudonym. My name's Kate. And I'm 40 and I'm married. And I don't want anything that you don't want to do to me. Have you ever given women an erotic massage? Because I've been married for 20 years and I was a virgin and I would like to find out more about my body. I got all kinds of responses. I got, no, I don't work on women. I got, I will spin you around on my cock, baby. And I was like, whoa, you're too advanced for me. And then I got yeses, of course, come. I had what I called a martini circle, my girlfriends, and I would tell them where I was going. They would wait outside for me just in case I'd be abducted.
Did your husband know?
Not then. Because I didn't know then. So for 6 months, I kept it quiet. And that was also like a little naughty. And when you've never been naughty, being naughty is delicious. Especially when you're not being naughty in a way that is really going to hurt somebody. I was seeing practitioners. I wasn't having an affair. I was paying for service. Right? The way men have.
Right.
For years. I went and had experiences. Some weren't very good. They were all kinds. Nothing was scary. And then I found a practitioner who I work with for a long time. And he was generous. And he introduced me to a whole world I didn't know. And
What is that world? Can you explain?
well, then it was a sacred sexuality world, like the underground of Tantra and all of that, which was a mixed bag. Too many magic lingams were popping out everywhere. This would be the time where you would touch my magic wand if you wanted to. I felt pressured to do that. And I wasn't interested in that. I was interested in exploring me, not interested in exploring his magic wand.
Did you have any experiences that were good ones or opening ones that led you to understand that more?
Oh, absolutely. Well, it was more traditional sexological body work, which is a profession with boundaries where practitioners remain clothed. When they do touch on genitals, they wear gloves. There's a code of ethics. And when I found those people, I was able to let all my hypervigilance go away. Because you know what? You can't really explore yourself or really ride your arousal or find your climax or your orgasm if you're hypervigilant, if you're scared, if you're worried that something's going to pop out. That led me into this
Pop out meaning like some uncomfortable.
like someone's cock popping out.
Yeah.
Like in the middle of your session.
You can't like relax.
No, because then it's about them.
Right.
And they were all gay men?
Then it was a mix.
A mix.
Yeah.
But I could imagine that being like nice at the beginning, that it was like, you know, like I could see how that might feel safer.
What I have learned
Yeah.
is that the more people are connected to their erotic energy, erotic orientation sometimes goes out the window.
Right.
So if we call ourselves
Gay,
this
straight,
or
yeah,
queer or gay or whatever, the more you become in touch with your erotic energy, the more like I could connect to your erotic energy. It becomes more fluid and open, and we let go of labels and judgments. Then a lot becomes possible in erotic connection. Of course, that's me 10 years later. I went through my own erotic evolution. And then, like I did in fertility, I went through this like really not so lovely infertility experience. I created an organization to help people better manage that. I'm kind of a bridge. And then when I left the American Fertility Association, we say left with a wink. They weren't approving of my blogging and my story and my evolution. They just wanted to know what diet I was on. Why did I look so great? It wasn't a diet, darling. It was embodiment. It was finding who I was as an erotic creature. It was dressing differently. It was showing up in the world differently. I wanted to create a safe space for women to come and find their own sexual sovereignty. Like, what is consent? What is sexual sovereignty? What is available to women in a woman's erotic model? A woman's arousal is so different than a man's. A woman's arousal looks like this. All these lines. And every woman is different. And a man's eroticism, again, broad strokes, not true for everybody. A man's eroticism tends more to be like that, much more linear. We have women who've never really experienced their arousal, because what happens is when our introitus, the opening to our vagina, gets wet, men see that as the signal to enter. And actually, all that is like, hi, I'm happy to see you, but I'm not necessarily ready for you to penetrate me. And so teaching women that their wetness, it's the beginning. And that women's arousal can take 20 minutes, 40 minutes before they're even ready to think about having penetrative activities, because the vulva needs to be filled with blood. She needs to be wanting you. She should beg you, like, yes, I want you now. And instead, most women are subject to premature penetration, which is painful, not sexy. The guy is done, and she's left there like this, like, wow, that was sex. That wasn't very exciting. And so the beginnings of the work that I do is realigning women to actually being able to, A, listen to their bodies, because we gaslight our bodies. We're so well trained to gaslight our own arousal. We feel like we take too long, we're too big, we're too much. You've heard this before. We taste funny, we look funny, we da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Like, screw that. No, you don't. You're lovely and beautiful. And your vulva is different than her vulva and their vulva. And all the vulvas are just orchids in the rainbow, and they're all different. And you're not deformed.
They are literally like orchids.
They are literally like orchids, and they're all different.
And flowers in general.
Yeah, and they change.
When you look at the flowers, like...
Yeah. And women aren't told that their vulvas change. But they do as you age. So inner labia can get smaller. Women don't know what's happening. We're not told about our younger bodies. We're not told about our pregnancy erotic bodies, our postpartum bodies. We're not told about our midlife bodies. We're not. And then we're given this name. You have menopause. Oh my God. I was having a really good time. Now you're telling me I have to pause? Like, screw that. I'm like more like, I'm a playful. I'm curious. I'm hot. You know, like, who put pause? A man. A man named it menopause.
Right.
Like,
fuck that.
Yeah, like, really fuck that.
Jesus.
Like, get out of my pussy. My pussy is not pausing for nobody. My pussy is like, she turned 60 this year, and she's like, I'm here. I'm alive, and we'll see how much we want you. And it's my light. It's what colors me. It's the color of this dress. It's how I walk in the world, is with an alive pussy. And that's my erotic energy. That's not an invitation for someone to poke at me.
Okay, my experience. Sorry, Lily. It's not something that menopause stops or has anything to do with. It has nothing to do with stopping anything. Like
it's fine. Speak as if I wasn't here.
No, what I'm saying is that it's all about your own freedom. It doesn't have to do with age. It has to do with your own freedom.
I have a question. Do you think it's been societally programmed in us to think that, like, it's gross to hear about your parents having sex, or do you think that that's just natural?
That's like a two-frame answer for me. I took my mother at 93 to one of my retreats.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
There's a great video of her on YouTube talking about having an orgasm and an ejaculation at 93 and how women are told that they die after menopause, and it's such a lie.
It is such a lie.
And her body was alive at 93 and hot.
Yes.
It was a beautiful experience, Sharon. We have mothers and daughters who come to my retreats, and it's actually a really beautiful experience. I get women off their backs and moving with their eroticism and getting women to actually activate their sexuality as opposed to being done to. We teach them to bring that. And so to answer your question, it was a real experience having my mom watch me. Her response to watching me was 2 words. He said, "You never need to go to the gym again, dear. You work very hard on that table." And then she said, "I never knew fat was beautiful."
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was a really beautiful experience. Now, my sons, they designed my website for me. And they're really proud of the work that I do with women. They came up with our taglines. We're not a sex school, we're a self school. The only thing was when they were going through the images, they asked the photographers take out mommy's orgasm face. And so when they were doing the website, they didn't have to deal with like mommy butt and mommy orgasm. They don't really want to see photos of mommy doing mommy's work per se, but they are very proud of what I do. They support what I do. They think it's important. We have an instrument that is evolutionary and doesn't stay the same. And to give women the access to that, it's like giving them their own keys to their own castle. And to take the hurt that has been done to them and been imprinted on them. And I know this is going to sound weird, but it just is what it is. A lot of those imprints that were not consensual imprints become a sexual imprint. It becomes how these women are able to reach climax. And so in working with these women who've had these various kinds of traumas, like, well, how do we embrace it? How do we de-shamify it? How do you take it back and make it yours? This work is layered. It's complicated.
Oh my God. It's a metaphor for everything that's wrong in the world. Women's shame around themselves as sexual beings
and so
is a metaphor for everything that's wrong with our world. It's like everything else. It's denying your truth. It's erasing you. It's suppressing you. It's making you stuff things down. That's unhealthy for you. You're not being seen. You're not being heard. You're not being held. You're not feeling safe over something that is just completely innate and a gift.
Every word you just said is true, and I see it every day. And what's extraordinary is that in a week of attention, a week of having your body touched with no judgment and no predatory energy, heals women faster than years and years of therapy. And I believe in therapy.
Yes.
I believe in the combination of both those things.
Yeah.
And what I get to see on a daily basis is extraordinary. And I believe in data. And so we had an IRB study that was done about the work that we do at Back to the Body. And what they found was that women who went through these programs, they left with genital self-esteem. They felt good about their pussy, where they didn't feel good about their pussy before. They left feeling better about their bodies. They were able to articulate desire. Because nobody had ever asked them before what they wanted.
I mean, imagine what an energetic, like how bad that is for the flow of your life force.
Absolutely. To not have that freed up.
To not, to feel like something is wrong with your genitals, like, and your sexuality and your desire and all the things that, like, imagine how intensely bad that is for the life force that wants to live through you, that you're pushing down.
And here's the kicker. What they named as one of the biggest healing aspects of these programs was the healing of their relationship with other women. And that was huge, sisterhood. My magic trick to get women to support women is you take out mate competition. Everybody gets the same slice of cake. You don't have to fight for attention. You have a practitioner. He's your practitioner for 5 days. You know when your sessions are. You have your time with me. Everyone gets the same. And when everyone gets the same, then we start to cheer for each other. Then we start to support each other in a different way.
Literally secret sauce to changing the world.
Yes.
Just like one of the things that I've always felt about what we're doing is just the power of how we can heal each other just by speaking honestly and telling our truths and telling our story and being honored for that. Like how that would undo and unravel everything that we've been taught in terms of what we need outside of ourselves to be happy. All we need is each other.
And loving kindness.
Yeah.
Like actually learning how to speak in loving kindness. And we're in a world right now where what is attracting people is big, ugly words, like judgment words, like get them, you know, as opposed to repair, as opposed violence, just like
repair.
And they don't know how to repair. They don't even know how to speak to a lover. Like how
everyone's talking at each other. They're talking at each other.
Yes, they're talking at each other. They're not listening, and they're not listening to themselves.
My question for you is, you did an amazing job like encapsulating your journey to this point. And what would you say has been like the biggest struggle for you, or the thing that is like driving this inside of you that's been like the thing that you've needed to heal in yourself or accept about yourself or own about yourself that maybe was like you've been working out through this journey?
I think it's the understanding that my eroticism is my fuel, that my arousal, which I feel right now, my arousal lights when I'm lit, that sex isn't one thing or another, that our sexuality is a buffet, that I can be aroused because I'm turned on and excited talking to you, which doesn't mean I need to have sex. It's just an indicator that I'm lit.
That your life force is flowing.
Yeah. The other piece is that the understanding that a woman's arousal, everyone can have this, just not everyone's willing to practice to have this. There's so much interest in ayahuasca and all these psychedelics. Beautiful, wonderful, great. You can have like the mushroom is in you. You can have altered states in expanded arousal. So if I'm on the table receiving touch for 2 hours, I'm not woo-woo and it's woo-woo, guys. I have altered states. I channel. I get messages. I see colors.
I don't think it's woo-woo. I think everything.
It's amazing.
We have everything inside of us that we need.
Yes, we do. And it's just that most people don't. They want to just take a pill. And
exactly.
So they just want it fast and easy. And
because otherwise you have to work through the pain and the layers to get to this freedom.
It's such an extraordinarily beautiful thing to experience altered states through your own arousal and orgasm and get messages from somewhere.
Obviously, it was meant to be. It's there.
You know, my favorite is staying in with no promise.
What does that mean?
It was something I channeled. It was a message. And what that means is that you don't get to have a promise of a nice, neat bow at the end of the rainbow. Like, are you willing to stay in? Are you willing to keep practicing or doing your work without the promise of a bucket of gold or a knight in shining armor or whatever it is? And that's sort of been a guiding light for me. Can I stay in without a promise?
Can you talk about like some of the insecurities that like maybe came up for you along the path that you like had to break through?
Were you ever shy or shameful?
Yeah, were there things that you were shy about?
What did you have to break through?
Yeah.
I was never shy. I was bulimic for a period of time. I had an eating disorder from the time I was 15 until I was 40, the first time I got on the table.
Oh.
And it ended. And I had done things like taken Prozac and therapy. You know, when they talk about the stress response and how we don't complete the stress response. So we're constantly in stress because we don't know how to shake off and complete the stress response. As women, or we just stay in the stress response. We don't release it. We don't release it. And what bulimia did for me was it actually released the stress response. So I would teach all day in the South Bronx, come home, get my Chinese food, and I would eat and I would throw up. And somehow that release completed the stress response for me. When I got on the table for the first time, started to like really move my body and have like impact play and made noise, ha, 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 moved my body. I was releasing my stress response of the day. And then a cupcake became a cupcake. And I didn't need to eat it anymore. I wasn't attracted to those things anymore. I was attracted to getting on the table and making noise and move my body and having sensation play. And that, I believe, replaced bulimia as an ending of my stress response. There was learning to really love my body. I think so many of us have body dysmorphia. So having hands holding my waist. Oh, I have a waist. I can feel my waist. Oh, that's sexy. Like when I could feel the hand going over my butt and down my legs, I got a different picture of the landscape of me that was different than the lens of me. I could feel my physical beauty through the curves and shapes of my body that the mirror did not allow me to see. That's why I say put down the mirror and then pick up the mirror. We do photography as a part of our healing work. But first you put down that mirror and you feel what it is to be embodied. Like how beautiful is that curve? And like your belly. Like so many women are so uptight about their bellies. Like, it's my belly over here. My belly is like, if you were to touch my belly and put your hands in there, sexy as fuck. Like learning to say, oh yeah, grab my belly. Twist my belly, play with my belly. Like getting over your freaking belly shame, right? And so that was a part of my metamorphosis. You know, when people say, honey, you just gotta love your body, I want to say, oh honey, fuck you. Like what tools are you giving me to love my body? Oh honey, just let go. Surrender. Take a bubble bath. Like stick it up your ass. Really? Hope that's okay to say, but it's how I feel.
Yeah.
It's like what tools are you giving people to actually love their bodies? And so I want to give women tools to love their bodies. Yesterday, I was meeting my children for dinner. Anyway, next door was the Abbey, which apparently is the gay
bar.
dance, like stripper joint, whatever. And I was early, so I walked in. And I started dancing with the strippers and like I got loved up and I was having such a good time. That's embodiment. Embodiment is like, I belong where I want to belong. I can walk into a room, I can dance with strangers, then I can leave and walk down the block and be my children's mom. Until women feel safe in their bodies, they won't do this. And because I feel safe in my body and I feel safe walking into places and making eye contact and smiling at people, I invite love. I invite kindness. I invite people to play with me. I show up playful. People are playful. I show up sour. People are sour. We actually have some responsibility in how we show up and present ourselves to how we
like a ton of responsibility. I think it's like a lot. I think it's like otherwise what are we doing in life? Like
I call it the welcome mat. Like what's your welcome mat like?
I love that.
Are you welcoming people into your house, into your life? Or are you so frightened of yourself and of other people that you wear a suit of armor and nobody can get through to you? And so then you're lonely and you're taking antidepressants and you're gorging on Oreos and medicating through shopping, eating, drugs, and I'll even say sex. Mindless, unconscious sex that is not meaningful.
What has the journey been as you've stepped into your embodiment and freedom? How has that like impacted your relationship, or were there like what are some of the things? I was just about to ask the same question. Oh well,
it has and it hasn't. I was right. It's my journey. Like, this was not about my husband. It was not about our marriage bed. It was about me. I mean, there's definitely parts of my erotic life now that I do not share with him. He is not interested in what I call power, surrender, and intimacy, which you may know as BDSM. He's not interested in that. And so we have an agreement. I don't do that with him. I do that with somebody else who's interested in that play with me. He's very safe and secure in our marriage. He's not concerned about me going off to play with a dom. I have a relationships in dominance and submission outside my marriage. I'm not a swinger. I mean, in technical terms, it's non-monogamous in the fact that I will play in DS with somebody other than my husband.
But not like
And at the end of the day, I'm with my husband. And that works for us. You know, I don't even know that we were actually meant to be married for 40 years, to be perfectly honest. We weren't meant to be alive this long. And so you have choices. Do you suffocate each other? Or do you make space for some privacy versus secrecy? My husband knows I enjoy DS, dominance and submission. He knows he doesn't. I don't get to not have that in my life because it's not his comfort zone. And so I have it in my life. And he's secure enough in our marriage that it doesn't threaten him. Sometimes when I'm grumpy and I'm on the computer, he'll walk by and go, "Having dom problems, dear? Have you forgotten to pack your paddle?" You know, he'll be playful.
It seems like you've given each other space to grow and you have a good relationship.
Yep, we do.
And that's why you're together for 40 years.
It's
And
just-
I can say the same for mine. It's a different model. There's a lot of similarities in terms of each of us giving space to be ourselves, and unconditional support and love has helped each of the other grow and heal. It's not always that way. It's not a straight line, but for me right now anyway, it's better than ever.
Yeah, look, I'm not the 19-year-old girl that my husband married.
Right.
And so it's sort of, how do we evolve together? How do we create space for each other? How do we continue to honor each other? And we're doing all right.
Yeah.
We're doing all right. I think about who am I today? What do I want today? What's getting in my way of having what I want today? Those are questions I ask myself every day. And today I get to feel as sexy as I want in my clothes. And I'm going to be with these cool ladies and talk about sexual expression and my fashion and how I style myself as a representation of who I am. So people meet me, they meet me. Are you interested in talking to me, or do I scare you? If I scare you, maybe that means you should talk to me.
Yeah.
For me, style-wise, like in relationship to my feelings about my body or my sexuality, like being away that last week, I wore a smaller bikini. The wrong one came where I've been wearing, like, just because I love them, like boy shorty kind of more. But the wrong one came and it came smaller. And I put it on and I was like, oh, like, I like this, and I wore it, you know, I've been wearing it. Like, I'm pretty irreverent about age and all of that, and like busting through all of it. But I have to say, I still have that a little bit of a voice, or a little part of me that's like,
Is this like
like a
age
little
appropriate or
discomfort.
something?
No, I would never give in to that. I'm comfortable in my body more than I've ever been before, but my body is not exactly in, you know, that, like, it has
lines
or wrinkles or whatever, things, you know, falling fleshy areas that I didn't have before.
I understand. You know, there's another topic here. I don't know if we want to go there or not, but it has to do with aging, and it has to do with virtue signaling. Like, Andie MacDowell came out and she had no makeup on and she had gray hair, and everyone was swooning like, oh my God, look at her, and she's wonderful that she's natural.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh fuck,
Yeah.
really? So now I have to be natural to be accepted at 60. I think we have to be really careful as women about virtue signaling around how we age. And I don't give a rat's ass if you do Botox or fillers, have a facelift, dye, don't dye. If that's going to make you feel good about you, baby, you go do it. And I get really annoyed with all of this, like, blah, 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 blah noise. But what we're doing is, again, setting up women to judge women. And that's the favorite game, is how do we set up women to judge other women, to feel shitty about themselves so they have another job to worry about. Like self-love becomes another project that we fail at. And I get tired of it, and I call bullshit on it. Don't put that on me, that I have to do what you think is my appreciation of my aging gracefully. I will age gracefully the way I age gracefully.
What is graceful? Graceful is being true to yourself.
What has
That's
been
all. That's all.
That's
it is.
all.
what
it
have
is.
been some like bumps in the road in your like insecurities or things that have popped up for you with aging, if any?
Well, I get naked in front of women all the time. And the women who come to my programs are anywhere between the ages of 27 to 85, 7 generations. And it's still vulnerable to get naked in front of people. And yeah, my body's changing. I have the craping.
The craping?
The craping.
What's that?
Like creeping.
Yeah.
Okay, like little rumple.
Can
like little-
everyone see the creeping on
Yeah.
my inner thigh? There's craping. There's
Right.
changes in my body. You know, and so like being aware, oh, I'm going to be naked and they're going to notice the craping. Or like, how is it when I lift my arm up and, oh, the skin starts to fall and I can do this and I look tight and hard. But if I'm relaxed, you'll see some craping and a little draping in my arm. And it's like, okay, that's me. It's okay. I'm doing some of those things. And I'm choosing not to do other things. Like I'm at a time in my life at 60 where my insides match my outsides. And I think I've waited my whole life for this moment. For my
I can relate to
insides
that.
to match my outsides. And I'm proud. And I'm taking fashion risks that I never took. I wear things that maybe I didn't wear 5 years ago that I wear now. And it's hot for me.
People are feeling this at like 45 years old. Like their life is over. Like people
45.
40, whatever.
Earlier.
People like the way that I've looked at aging is I'm like, oh God, okay, now it's gonna like go downhill, and then it just keeps getting better. And I'm like, okay, now it's gonna be this, and like, oh, it didn't happen. Oh, it's not this. I'm supposed to feel worse. I actually feel, oh no, and like it's a joke.
Did you bring an outfit with you today that
Thanks,
reflects even like more embodied erotic Pamela, like next level?
And the invitation was like, bring an outfit as your now self and your future self. And that was hard for me because I feel like I am my future self right now. And so I brought you another outfit of me in my expression of myself. Would you like me to go put it
I
on?
would like that, yes.
Oh, I could go do that. So this is something.
Wait.
that
You'd
was-
wear it to a bar mitzvah.
I wear it. Yeah, maybe. Except the nipple shows a little. It's like playing with the wink. It's not like immediately present. Then I'm wearing a corset atop, and then it is.
How do you feel like if and when you're getting like male gaze when you're wearing things like this? Does that ever create discomfort for you, or that's also just like
why would I
welcome?
dress like this if I didn't want anyone to see me?
Right.
If I didn't want anyone to see me, I'd wear a brown paper bag over my head. But obviously, I'm dressing to be seen.
Right.
The male gaze is lovely. Men or women or non-binary people grabbing at me, that's something else. That's disrespectful. That's being predatory. But someone saying, you look beautiful. Like, thank you.
Have you had like sort of violent reaction?
No. The most I had actually was the other day in West Hollywood, where I wasn't even dressed that provocatively, but I was dressed like me. So I guess it was provocative. And this man was like, sugar mama, you be my sugar mama. And I just looked at him and I went, darling, I'm taken. And I kept walking. It's like, job's been filled. No, sorry. Send an application to
Yeah.
my people. I like to be playful with people. I don't get offended. If I was going to get offended, then I shouldn't wear this. I mean, that's how I
You're
feel about
inspiring
it.
me. I have like a top. So like we did this campaign, thing recently with this like super sexy lingerie company, and like where we were like processing our relationship to sexuality and like trying on these like more overtly sexy lingerie and like unpacking what it brought up for us, because for both of us it made us feel a little like uncomfortable because it's just not.
We talked honestly
Yeah.
about how we've passed down, like how I've passed down
A
things to
shyness,
Lily
a
and
little
like,
bit of like a prudishness.
well, it's a
like,
combination. It's like there is like the shyness and like kind of the prudishness around it and the uptightness for sure. Like I like to emphasize I have an androgynous appearance or body, and I like it, and I love it. I didn't always, but I love it, and I play it up, so it's not going to be like lacy lingerie for me, probably most of the time. Like I'm just not drawn to it. So we talked all about that, and it was funny.
Yeah, but you're inspiring me because I have like this piece that we
She,
wore.
on the other hand,
Well, yeah,
can rock it.
There was like all these gorgeous like bodysuits
I'm
and
wearing
corset
one now.
kind of things. I'm wearing one now too from that actually. But there was this like really beautiful. Both of us are like,
See, but that's a wink.
That's
yeah. It's a wing.
So I call that a wink.
But
She likes to wing
like-
through no bra.
It's just like a little flirtation.
I will wear is like literally like a big man's shirt open all the way down to here, like anything that's open down to here, and like
No bra.
seeing like no cleavage in this part of my body with no cleavage.
It's so hot.
I love it.
I love it too. It's just about being able to play in our bodies and express ourselves and have fun.
Okay, so there's
Yes.
this piece that I'm obsessed with. It's like pink. It kind of like reminds me of that. Like it's like a bodysuit, the pink bodysuit. I wore it on social media, like mixed with like baggy pants and a blazer, and I like think it looked so good, and it was giving like a little bit what
Yeah.
you're giving right now. But I have been too scared to wear it like out, not just like
In real life.
in a picture or something. I still have a part of me that would be like nervous to like receive that kind of attention or people looking at me in that way.
You know
out.
what? I don't get wolf whistles and people being inappropriate. But mostly what I get are people being warm and smiling. And the worst I get is an eye roll. And it's usually from an older woman who's judging me. And that's hers. It's not mine.
Totally.
And then maybe she'll go home and put it on and look in the mirror.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Exactly.
But true feminism is the right for full self-expression, full reproductive and sexual choice, the clothing that we put on our bodies, to how we age disrespectfully. I could be your cup of tea. I could be your teacher. You may want to work with me. I may inspire you, or you may go next. And that's cool. You don't have to enjoy me. I may not inspire you. You may look at me and go, what does that woman think she looks like? And that's okay. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care. What I care about is how yummy this feels.
How you feel. Yeah.
Like, this is nice to feel this way in your body. I get to feel my rib cage. I like how that feels. When we talk about love yourself, can you actually dig all of you, even the parts that they tell you shouldn't dig? And when I speak to women, I'm like, did you ever ask your lover how much they enjoy your flesh, your bones, your curves? You're depriving, not just you, you're depriving your lover of the possibilities that exist in your hot embodied flesh. Let that be an invitation.
When do you feel the most alive?
Right now. I'm wearing sexy clothes, talking to two hot women.
When do you feel the most beautiful?
I could say right now, and I could say naked on the massage table under the hands of a practitioner, touching God with my body. There's something that happens when you become embodied, when you become self-accepting, when you actually allow yourself to see all of you and not just a walking head.
And compartmentalize, a part of you's cut off.
Yeah, where you actually, and I don't mean it in a narcissistic way. It's a self-acceptance. It's an embodiment. It's a playfulness. It's a joy. It's like we're alive right now. We're alive.
The problem is, like, there's nothing noble or narcissistic or any of those things about like hating yourself in any way.
No, and again, I'll say it again. Enough with the virtue signaling about how we're supposed to age and the good aging versus the bad aging. And you don't really appreciate your lines and your scars. You know what? I don't have to fucking love my creping skin. I don't have to love it. Why do I have to love it? I don't love it. And it's not stopping me. But we don't have to love every part of ourselves.
No.
That's also
toxic positivity.
Yeah, that's like another bullshit game we so that we have to be constantly running for the next thing.
Radical self-love, as I'm discovering. It's loving all layers, all aspects, all feelings, dark, light, and the often painful and difficult process that you have to go through to then remind yourself of who you really are, that you're not those things.
Can I tell you that I love the wink of that lingerie? Because like what that says to me is what that makes me curious about you. It makes me want to talk to you. It's like, oh, what's going on over there?
And I feel that way about style. Like
Yeah.
I feel
Well, that
for
is
me.
style.
Right. And there's something so uncomfortable. I feel exactly the same way when someone has that absolute seamless expression of their style. I can just feel it. I can see it with my eyes closed. Like I'm so drawn to it because I want to know them. And like someone said to me the other day, like I get this kind of thing a lot. Like I love your style. I love what you're wearing, but I can never do that.
I hate that.
I know.
And I hate, women start telling me.
What do you mean you can't be yourself?
Right.
Like,
When
what does
people
that
start
mean?
telling obstacles about why they can't. I've heard this story before. Like women say to me all the time, when are you coming to Minnesota? Like, honey, I'm not coming to Minnesota. No, you actually have to pack a suitcase and make a commitment and show up. Plan your own abduction. I'm not going to go to Sarah's shower. And I am going to go and change my life. That is what it's all about.
We have one more question.
There's more.
One.
I just
one.
really loved what you just said.
I know,
so
that
much.
was
Like,
so good.
we have like tiers of things that have like knocked our socks off and changed our whole lives of people, you know, the things that have come out of their mouths. And one of the biggest ones for me was they talked about how Alok is their name and they,
I know, Alok.
oh, Alok. Yeah. Okay. And they said that if you want to have good style, heal yourself.
That's really true. So if you want to have good style, heal yourself, become embodied, feel safe in your own body so that you can dress yourself so that your insides match your outsides. And I'm celebrating that because for me in this moment, and that's all I've got is this moment, my insides match my outsides. And I'm celebrating that. That's a journey. And in this world, that's a heroine's journey.
What's one thing that you would say to a younger Pamela who hadn't got on this journey yet to embrace about who she is?
I think it's more like, honey, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. You just keep doing you. And the world's going to rumble and you're going to land on your feet. And you're going to fall in the mud. And you'll wipe it off. You get back on. And everyone in your life that didn't believe in you, that shot you down, that tried to hurt you or make you stumble, send them a thank you basket. Send them all a thank you basket. Because without them tripping you, pushing you, criticizing you, wishing you failure, you never would have found who you are today.
Amazing.
Woof.
And we're going to have to come to a retreat, aren't we?
You are have to come to a retreat.
I hope you all got as much out of that interview with Pamela as we did.
Yes, totally. I hope that you all loved it as much as we did. And we're so, so grateful that you are here and sharing all of this with us. And it means everything. And yeah, we love you all and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next week. And in the meantime, as
you can
always,
also write in with questions that you want us to ask our guests, or we'd just love to hear from you too. Like, don't hesitate.
my mom really would love to hear from you.
I really would.
If you loved this episode and think that there's anyone in your life that could benefit from Pamela's incredible spirit and aliveness and message about embodiment and sensuality and sexuality and all the things, please share this episode with any friends and family. It would mean the world to us. And also subscribe if you can to our podcast, Don't Change a Thing, wherever you get your podcast. That's where you can listen to the audio of all of these episodes. And also, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel so that we can notify you every time a new episode of Don't Change a Thing drops.
And sign up for the newsletter. Go to StyleLikeU.com to sign up for our newsletter to hear what's going on with us, like on a more frequent basis, and and all the different ways that we're planning on sharing ourselves with you and developing in our community more and more, which we're really excited about.
There's a lot of announcements coming that we can't share yet.
Yeah. We want to meet you, and we want you all to meet each other. Lots of love. Thank you for being here.